What up? What up? Okay, we're going to try new screen capture software because Screencastify was starting to annoy me, especially the last time when I spent 2 hours trying to get it to finally work. So rather than use excessive profanity, we'll try this. We'll hide you down there. Hopefully, you're just as good as or better than Screencastify. So, Congress, the people's branch of government, as you know from Unit 1, Congress is the only branch of government, specifically the House of Representatives, that was directly elected. The Senate was originally an indirect election. The presidency still is an indirect election, and the judicial branch is an indirect appointment. Uh, Judges are appointed, as you know, by the president. We'll get into that in greater detail later. Congress every 2 years turns over, meaning there's an election every 2 years in the House of Representatives. So they're numbered. And we are currently in the 114th Congress. Um, Not this January, but the following January, after the election next fall, you'll have the 115th. You don't necessarily need to know that kind of stuff. But again, the term of Congress, I should put House of Representatives. No, I take that back. We're talking about the official term. My bad. My bad. Um, Again, it starts in January, even though members of Congress, the House and the Senate, are going to be chosen next fall in November. Currently, we'll look at the breakdown in regards to party, but as you can see by this graphic, um, the House is dominated by Republicans right now. Over a 50-seat advantage gives them advantage in every committee, which we'll go over later. The Senate has a 10-seat advantage. Actually, I take that back, 8-seat, because of two independents. We know the burn, feel the burn. Bernie Sanders, and the other one is Joe Lieberman, caucus or meet with the Democrats. So really, when it comes down to voting, they're going to vote along with the Democrats, although they consider themselves independents. So it's 54-46, and realistically, the Democrats just need to flip um, 5 seats next fall to regain control of the Senate. But right now, Republicans control both branches um, or houses of the legislative branch. Let's see. They have a lot of recesses right now. They're in recess session because they're in election mode or re-election mode. A lot of them are campaigning. There was some criticism in the debate last night of Marco Rubio spending less time in the Senate and more time campaigning, which ended up being a disaster when Jeb Bush tried to attack him on that. Jeb Bush, many say, is on life support right now in regards to his attempt to get the Republican nomination. Again, we have a bicameral legislature. That means a two-chambered legislative branch. You have the House of Representatives, which again is closer to the people. They represent smaller amounts of people. So the idea is you would have much more influence or a much greater chance of having influence on a member of the House. Whereas a member of the Senate has to represent everyone in an entire state. Your representative, Mike Quigley, just represents your district and really does not represent the interests of citizens in Southern Illinois. Whereas your senators, Mark Kirk and Dick Durbin, have to represent the interests of everyone in the entire state of Illinois. So again, the House of Representatives, every 2 years, they are running for reelection, constant reelection mode. But as we know, as long as they're a decent member of Congress, they're going to be reelected. The reelection rate for most members of the House are over 90%. So once you're in, you're going to be in for as long as you want. Smaller districts, again, in 2-year terms. The entire body, in theory, could be replaced every 2 years, but 90% of them end up winning re-elections as an incumbent. Revenue bills, so taxation bills, bills in regards to any spending of money originally must originate in the House of Representatives. That is in the Constitution. It doesn't mean that the Senate doesn't vote on it, but in theory, they must begin in the House. Do you need to know that? Yes. Why? Because AP says you need to know it. The Senate originally was not a direct election by the people. It was an indirect election in which state legislatures would select each senator in their state, the two senators. It is an at-large basis, meaning you are representing the entire state, and it is a 6-year term. So only about a third of the Senate is up for re-election every 2 years. It leads to much more stability in the Senate, even though you have a lower chance of being reelected, only 80%. You have a really good chance than in the House. The House of Representatives size is determined by Congress. I don't think that's going to change. It's 435 right now, and you're elected by district. The state of Illinois has 18 congressional districts. Most of them are in the greater Chicago area because we have such a high population. All of the districts are determined, all of the number of representatives for each state are determined by population. So the bigger the state is population-wise, the more members of Congress you're going to have. Again, terms of office are fixed, meaning they're 2 years. You can be removed by fellow members of Congress. Congress would have to vote to remove you, but you'd have to do something terrible to have members of Congress remove you from office. But they are a fixed term, just like the presidency is fixed at 4 years and Senate is fixed at 6. Qualifications, these are in the Constitution, and they are very few. You have to be 25 years of age to run for the House of Representatives, a citizen for 7 years, and reside in the state. Notice it says reside in the state. So technically, I could run for your seat in Congress, even if I did not live in your district, which is kind of weird. Like you could have someone from Southern Illinois technically run for Congress in the 5th district, even though they don't live in the 5th district. But the Constitution says you just have to be a resident. That doesn't happen very often because it's unlikely that someone in a district is going to vote for someone who doesn't even live in their area. The Senate has 100 members, and again, are at large, meaning they represent the entire state. The smaller size of the Senate, only 100 members in the Senate, tends to lead to a more informal body because when you have 435 members, you have to have a lot more rules to keep everyone in line so that you accomplish things. In the Senate, it's much more lax, and we'll get into that in more detail later, so you don't necessarily need to know that by now. But you do need to know that the House has very strict rules of procedures where the Senate does not. Again, the term of office is 6 years for the Senate, which leads to an individual member of the Senate not really feeling they have to be focused on winning re-election every 2 years like the House. Qualifications are a little more strict. You have to be 30 years of age, a citizen for 9 years, and again, residency in that state. Compensation, members make pretty good. Salary, $174,000 is pretty good. The 27th Amendment, which is the last amendment that has been passed, I hope you will never see that on the AP test. But the 27th Amendment simply states that if Congress chooses to raise their salary, it doesn't take effect until the next Congress. So if they were to say, you know what, we need to make $200,000 and they voted to increase their salary to $200,000 today, it wouldn't take effect until a little over a year and a half, until the 115th Congress. Leadership positions make more money. Speaker of the House, a new Speaker of the House today, we'll get into that later. They have increased responsibility, and so they do make more money. When you talk about the advantages of members of Congress in elections, they do have a paid staff. It depends on how long you've been in office and whether you're in a leadership position. But you can hire people, and if you look at that total, $750,000, you can hire, a good amount of people depending on how much you want to pay them. And certainly, if you have 2.5 million, that's a lot more, and that would be for a position such as a Speaker of the House. They get their travel paid for them. Obviously, if you're a member of Congress from California, you have to fly to D.C. They're not going to make you pay for that trip. They get office space. Your office is better if you are there a long time, seniority, and if you're in a leadership position. We talked about the franking privilege in the last unit, the ability to send mail for free. They get insurance. They get cheap haircuts, fresh cut flowers. You don't need to know that. Legislative immunity is the idea that you don't necessarily have to share all of the discussions and all of the things that you're doing in regards to legislation and public policy. If requested, you're kind of immune from revealing everything. For example, there are individual members of Congress who serve on the Foreign Relations Committee who get constant daily memos in regards to what kind of threats we have from terrorism, from ISIS, etc. They don't have to reveal that to anybody, and they keep that on the down low. They're not going to reveal the probably horrifying reports that they get on a daily basis of potential attacks on our country, etc. So they are immune from having to reveal all of the information that they get. And a kind of an obscure portion of the Constitution says that members of Congress cannot be arrested or detained while they're in session or going and coming to Congress. That has been used by members of Congress for very bizarre things like getting out of drunk driving. They go to an event, maybe an interest group is having a dinner for them, etc. They get a little buzzed, and then they drive home and get pulled over. Believe it or not, members of Congress have tried to say, you can't arrest us. We are privileged from arrest when we're in session. Well, you're not in session going home from Congress. They try to pull that off. Doesn't work. Membership, I'm not going to go here for the membership for Congress. I'm going to flip to a nice little chart. Email. So if we look at these particular demographics, you look at the demographics we have here, you see that the average age, Senate is a little bit older, House is starting to get a little bit older. You see the gender, women make a very small percentage. I don't know what that comes out to, like 20, 25%. The Senate, about 20% of the Senate are females. So it is not proportionate to the overall population of the United States. What's interesting is occupation, public service or politics, meaning they've been in some kind of political capacity their entire life. So maybe they worked for another politician. You see a lot of business background in both chambers, legal background. What might surprise you is 80 members of the House have an educational background. Maybe they were teachers. 25 out of 100 members of the Senate. Real estate, agriculture, homemaker, never had a job, a stay-at-home mom, maybe a stay-at-home dad, doctors, secretaries, members of journalism, and then military. Certainly one of the House members from Illinois, Tammy Duckworth, was a veteran. Technical clergy. That might surprise some of you. They used to be in religion. And, an actor or entertainer. One of the two senators who were entertainers is a senator from Minnesota who used to be on Saturday Night Live. So professional athlete, that's kind of cool. So there aren't any qualifications on what jobs you have. In some of these, if you're an entertainer, people are going to know your name. That might be an advantage for you when running for Congress. And we see that the percentage of women in Congress has gone up. Young people, the percentage, obviously, and that is 7.9. That's not 79%. Very, very few young people. I guess there might be a perception that young people aren't experienced enough in politics or public policy to make decisions in regards to Congress. Minority percentage in both the Senate and the House has gone up, but not at the rate you would maybe think it has. Only 6% in the Senate, 20% in the House, significantly higher. If you look at the race, both chambers are predominantly Caucasian, and certainly the Senate minority percentage does not mirror the percentage in the United States. The House is a little more representative of the minority percentage in our overall population. Education, believe it or not, there are individuals in Congress who have no college degree. 20 members of the House have no college degree. The Senate, everyone has either a bachelor's or higher. Religion, you can see that Protestant overwhelmingly for both the Senate and the House, Catholic, another high one, and then Jewish and other. If you look here to the side, you see Roman Catholic. Oh, my bad. This Catholic. Oh, no, I get it. It appears that there are more Catholics. And if you break down Protestant into the different Baptist, unspecified, Methodist, Presbyterian, some of these are hard to pronounce. If we lumped all Protestant faiths together, it would be higher than Catholicism. But what might surprise you is we have a few Buddhists, Christian Scientists. You want to maybe expect that. 2 Muslim members in the House. I don't even know what Pentecostal is. Seventh-day Adventist. Actually, Donald Trump is a seventh. No, not Donald Trump. I take that back. I'm pretty sure Carson is a Seventh-day Adventist, Hindu, and then unspecified, might be atheist. I don't know. So you can see if we broke down Congress by demographics, we can see that some might be startling, whereas over 50% of the United States is female, 20 to 20, maybe less than 25% in both chambers of the House, etc. I don't know if we have. This is like a 70-page report on Congress. I should make you read it all. But that's Congress, the people's branch. And when we look and we go back, when we talk about this branch of government, again, I believe the framers' original intent was for this to be by far the strongest branch of government, whereas that has not necessarily been the case as we progressed over hundreds of years and the executive branch has gained more power, which probably wasn't intended by the framers of the Constitution. So Congress, the people's branch, it's a beautiful thing. Peace.